Commander Jersey asks, how are you going to start the video? Like this! It's the 5th anniversary of the Kirby Live Radio. To celebrate, I asked the community for their questions, and today I'll be answering every single one of them. There are going to be more than 100 questions answered in this video, so let's get started. Gustavo Smash Bros 00, Sai Does Things, RubyMan14GD, and Ender ask, what are your favorite Kirby games and songs? Man, hard-hitting question right out of the gate. I'll talk about my favorites some more throughout the video, so for now, I'll go with my favorite song is Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright from Kirby's Block Ball, and my favorite game is Kirby 64, The Crystal Shards. These are subject to change though, since I love so much of the franchise for so many reasons, it's really hard to pick favorites. Bernardo de Assis Martins, Sparky, Stapler, King Galactonite, and Terminus the Infernal ask, what is your favorite Kirby soundtrack? I had a really hard time deciding between two of them. Actually 3. The series is so big that there are a good number of soundtracks that appeal to me on a deeply personal level. Factoring in everything though, I think I'll have to give my top spot to Kirby's Dream Land 3. Nearly every song in the soundtrack is a classic. The sound samples that make up the music instantly make me think of Kirby, and I have lots of memories of listening to the whole soundtrack while doing homework at 3 a.m. Part of me says I wouldn't want to relive those nights, but if I could discover another soundtrack as magical as Kirby's Dream Land 3, I'd do it all again. Cyanic Core asks, what inspired you to start uploading soundtracks on the Kirby Live Radio, and were there ever challenges? I'm glad this was asked, because I wanted to be able to tell the full story of the Kirby Live Radio and the YouTube channel overall during this video. Going back to the very beginning, I was just starting college, and I thought about how much time I would need to dedicate to classwork and studying. I realized that the tried and true method of listening to the Kirby's Dream Land 3 soundtrack on repeat wouldn't last forever, and that I would get sick of it after a while. I looked on YouTube for Kirby music compilations, and you wouldn't believe how many there were. 1. Just 1. The landscape is completely different to now. With popular series, you can easily find dozens of music mixes online, but back then, your options on YouTube were pretty limited. So, I decided to throw my hat into the ring and make my first YouTube video, the calm and relaxing Kirby music mix. I even still have the first song list that I wrote out by hand. From there, I started making more music mixes, mostly Kirby ones. My first foray into uploading video game soundtracks was right as the Switch launched. Shovel Knight Scepter of Torment came out as a launch game, and with music that good, I excitedly looked through YouTube for the music, but it wasn't uploaded yet. So I went through the game and recorded the audio through the aux port of the Switch itself, and uploaded it from there. Even though the audio quality isn't the greatest, and I've since learned a lot more about recording digital music, the videos were getting lots of views, which brought more attention to the music mixes I had already uploaded. That's the magic of YouTube. The Kirby Live Radio comes into play a bit later in the story, and I'll talk about it more in an answer later in the video. OxyElephas02 Oxygen the Small Angel asks, what do you think of my unhealthy admiration for Elphilus? Like, I simp for that rat a ton. Hobbies are healthy, but if you let them bleed into every aspect of your life, it can turn out bad. Make sure to drink plenty of water and take lots of breaks between your simping. Kirby Dreamland asks, OMG, hi Jersey! What do you think of my 4 themes? Olive Ocean, Hilltop Chase, Escape the Halberd, and Pitch Black Valley. I dig Olive Ocean. It's got a cool mixture of late game and aquatic music. Hilltop Chase is an unfortunate case of being the younger sibling of the most iconic song in the franchise, but it still stands well on its own. Escape the Halberd and Pitch Black Valley both fit incredibly well in-game, and they help to make some of the most memorable moments in their games. Sonic the Hedgehog asks, idea, could there be a small chance of 1-2 Oatmeal or other Kirby-related meme music playing? Most of the time, the Kirby Live Radio will play official music from the games, official remixes, or select fan remixes. Other songs, like the ones you've mentioned, have appeared before and will appear again. When? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Astro Nico asks, 2 questions. 1. Do you think the Parasol Kirbys will reach the ground one day? And 2. Do you have any thoughts on the Astro Boy series? For the first question, I'm not sure. They're falling pretty slowly, and every night they seem to be back up in space. Are we sure that they're actually falling, and not just orbiting Planet Popstar? And for your second question, my only real exposure to the series was reading about the Wii game in Nintendo Power when it came out. I've heard lots of good things about the series, though. Paper Mario asks, why is there no Team Kirby Clash Deluxe OST? That is being added in the next update. Anton asks, where did you find all the songs on the radio? Do you have CDs or do you take them from the games? Well, this may not be the most legal answer, but I ended up getting pretty much everything from the internet. Years ago, I was lucky to find a Kirby Music Mega Pack, which featured nearly all game music from Kirby's Dream Land until around Kirby's Return to Dreamland. The Kirby Rainbow's Resort fansite was super helpful with organizing the information on these earlier soundtracks, and for the later ones, I found them in some other corners of the internet. I don't want to call them out by name, but you could pretty easily find them with some light Googling. If you listen to game soundtracks online and you're not doing it on YouTube, you probably know which ones I'm talking about. That being said, there are some soundtracks on the radio that are from CDs I've bought and ripped myself. The first Kirby Cafe soundtrack being one of them. Jozoke, Clyde and his soundtracks, An Egg Who Only Has Eyes, and Captain Blue ask, will you be adding Kirby's Dream Buffet music and gameplay to the radio? They're planned to be added in the next update. Bro B Chan asks, did Meta Knight vomit? Maybe, if he ate too much chocolate lava cake in one sitting. Thanks for the question. It sent me down the rabbit hole of looking at figures of Meta Knight playing with food. Carbon Kirby Guy asks, what's your favorite Kirby spray paint color? Oh, that's tough. When I was younger, I would always use emerald, and now I'm a fan of orange, citrus, and lavender too. Hoyo Star asks, is there anything you've been hoping to see during Kirby's 30th anniversary? When it was first announced, I was hoping for some new music arrangements, and Dream Buffet and the Music Fest delivered hard on that. I was also hoping for a new mainline game, and Forgotten Land delivered hard on that. With how good these turned out so far, not even mentioning Return to Dreamland Deluxe, my expectations have already been shattered sky high. If I had to get really greedy, I'd ask for another Kirby Collection game, with some new Treasure Road stages thrown in, like how Dream Collection on the Wii had some new copyability challenge stages. Nabron asks, for some reason why the Kirby Live Radio always has no music when it lagged for an hour. The official reason is that the radio got tired and needed a break to go outside. The unofficial answer is that I forgot to reshuffle the playlist for when it ran out of music to play. Bethany Bradley asks, what is your idea of an ideal Kirby game? Like, what kind of Kirby game would you really like to play someday? That's a cool question. I'd love to see another 3D game like Forgotten Land. The stages in that game were also memorable. I'd love to see Hal's 3D take on other types of Kirby level locations, like caves in outer space. I also have a dream bonus stage idea. Take iconic classic Kirby levels like Green Greens, Planet Floria, and Factory Inspection, and remake them in 3D, like how Sonic Adventure 2 remade Green Hill Zone. Kirby Mania asks, why no Mass Attack and Battle Royale footage? The DS games are tough to put in the radio because of their tall aspect ratio. I'm still figuring out a solution for that. Battle Royale has been added in the latest update though. Eye of the Storm asks, I have a few. 1. What Kirby game is the best in your opinion and why? And 2. Who is the best character of the Kirby universe, hero or villain? If I had to pick a best game on quality alone, then I'd probably go with Crystal Shards. It has a level of playfulness and experimentality with copy abilities that hasn't been matched since, in my opinion. As for the best character, well, I've always liked how Waddle Doos look, but I think when King DDD is used properly, he makes the best moments in the series come to life. McKid asks, do you have kids in your basement? My apartment doesn't even have a basement. You should ask me again when I do have one, though. I Drink Cyanide asks, what's your opinion on Kirby Slide, the best game in the Kirby series? If only it had a proper cartridge release, then I'm sure that tens of more people would see how great it is. Fruit Salad asks, what's your opinion on the famous Kirby character, Gim? Gim is cool on his own, but he's even better when he's inhaled and lets me dish out some cool yo-yo action. Mexican Robobot 42, Thunder Marisol, Jules, Noah CB13, Just a Kirby Fan, and Snipe Kitty ask, what inspired the Kirby Live Radio? To answer this question, I'm going to go all the way back to the summer of 2017. I had my YouTube channel for almost a year now, and I was thinking of new ways to make videos about video game music. I listened to my own Kirby music mixes all the time, but I started to learn the order of every song that played. It became too predictable. I took inspiration from a stream that I had often seen, and one that you probably have too. The Lo-Fi Hip Hop Radio, Beats to Relax/Study to. Back in 2017, there wasn't the large variety of video game music streams you'd find today. Searching video game radio or even Nintendo radio wouldn't give you any results on YouTube. So I figured, what if I took the concept of the lo-fi stream and made it about Kirby music instead? So, I got my old laptop, set it up in my room, downloaded a streaming software, slapped a picture of Kirby on it that I got from Google, shuffled my playlist, and started streaming it while I slept. 12 hours later, I came back to it, and the stream had crashed itself. Nice! The proof of concept worked. I just had to move the stream to a new computer and give it another shot. And so I did, with the Shovel Knight Live Radio. Yeah, I was still in the experimenting phase. Just 2 weeks later, though, I did put together the first proper Kirby Live Radio stream. How did it turn out? Well, that's a story for another time. Anonymous asks, do you prefer the more relaxing side or the more intense side of Kirby music? I thought a lot about this one, until Dream Buffet came out and I heard its music. I had the biggest smile on my face when I heard all of that high energy music, and it made me realize how much I love the energy that Kirby music has. That tipped the favor in the direction of the intense, exciting music, but even the calmer music still has that great energy. Darth Galak asks, how do you mostly deal with problems on the chat? If it's spam, I'll issue a warning or timeout, depending on how serious it is, or if the user has done it multiple times. If it's an argument, it's usually not something in my power to fix. Sometimes chatters need to work it out with each other. No one sees themselves as the bad guy, and me taking a side might accidentally assign that label to someone. I try to watch over the chat often enough to make sure things don't get too bad, though. KirbyFan22 asks, can you add Bandana Waddle Dee and Kirby and the Rainbow Curse? Or Kirby and the Forgotten Land? Gameplay? At the moment, all gameplay is gotten from other online sources, which are mentioned in the description. At some point, I hope to include my own gameplay too. I'll keep the multiplayer options in mind when I do that. Villy asks, what do you think of Kirby and the Rainbow Curse? I love the graphics in Rainbow Curse, and I think the original music in it is some of the best out of all the spin-offs, specifically Up the Big Ol' Tree, Great Cave Escape, and Rainbow Across the Skies. Relatedly, Green Waddle Dee asks, what's your opinion on Canvas/Rainbow Curse? Canvas Curse was actually the second Kirby game I played, and I admire how big the game feels, full of so many unlockables. The music being almost entirely remixes is a bit weird to look back on, but when I first played it, I didn't notice and I didn't mind. Anonymous asks, which do you like more, Blade Knight or Sword Knight? I think I'll give this one to Blade Knight, purely because of how silly his Kirby Adventure art looks. Anonymous asks, how do you choose new remixes to add, like the Superstar Symphony ones? When there are so many out there, how do you narrow it down? Relatedly, Lapidot asks, will you add more fan music? Usually, I'll start by trying to find remixes that are already grouped together into albums. Once I give it a full listen through, I'll go through it again and filter out any songs that don't seem like they jive with the rest of the Kirby music on the radio. A good case of this is the original Siva Gunner Kirby Rip Attack album, where there are a lot of songs that would rip you out of the Kirby music trance. There are still a lot of remixes that I haven't heard of though, so feel free to leave your favorites as suggestions and I'll look into them. Anonymous asks, is there any way to submit backgrounds to be used for the live radio? There's no official way to submit them, though if you have any you want to see, then you could email me at the email in the channel's About section. The guidelines I've been following is that they have to be official art from Kirby games. Nightmare in Dreamland, Amazing Mirror, and Squeak Squad have all been great sources for backgrounds. The Greatest Warrior in the Galaxy asks, what is your favorite track from each game? Alright, speed round. For the main series, Title Theme from Dreamland, Butter Building from Adventure, Big Forest from Dreamland 2, Sky High from Superstar, Ripplefield 2 from Dreamland 3, Aquastar from Crystal Shards, Becoming Wrapped in Mystery from Amazing Mirror, Prism Plains from Squeak Squad, Sky Tower from Return to Dreamland, Moonlight Capital from Triple Deluxe, Minding a Program from Planet Robobot, Planet Earthfall from Star Allies, and Fast Flowing Waterworks from Forgotten Land. If I was including spin-offs too, I'd be here for way too long trying to figure out what my favorite Kirby's Epic Yarn track is. Max asks, if you had to incorporate pineapple into every meal you ate, how many meals could you go through before giving up? Can I just have the pineapple on the side? If it has to go in the main dish, I'd probably give up after a day or two. I can only cook a few meals, none of which involve pineapple. Learning to cook new dishes that specifically involve it would be mentally exhausting to me. Fat Yoshi Dude asks, should we have a Kirby slide puzzle too? Only if it gets a physical Switch release with a collector's edition, which includes a real-life Kirby slide puzzle. Amazing Yahoo the Gamer asks, what's your favorite boss battle music from the entire Kirby franchise? It's a more recent one. Minding a Program has a really cool soundscape, and the melody gets me into the perfect emotion for the fight, making it my favorite boss battle music at the moment. Kitty Cat asks, I sometimes see Kirby Cafe music coming by, and I wondered, is that track actually played in the official Kirby Cafe in Japan? It is. I've never been there myself to hear it, but the 2 Kirby Cafe albums actually play as ambient music in the real-life Kirby Cafe building. Omochi Kirby asks, why is the Kirby Live Radio funny? Because Kirby music brings out the funny in people. It's true. Brazilian Lychee Dragon asks, can the radio play more Star Allies songs for my games, please? Unless your games are Kirby's Block Ball, Kirby's Pinball Land, or Kirby Slide, I'm not sure if I can make it happen. GB Cochran asks, how long do you plan to keep the Kirby Live Radio going? Example, 2030. Sometimes the Kirby Live Radio PC will restart for a Windows update, but those endings are only temporary. I don't really see a permanent end to the Kirby Live Radio in the near future, and at the moment, I'm lucky enough to not have anything coming up that would stop me from keeping it going. Unless the ghosts of copyright past, present, and future catch up to me. Nothing lasts forever, but forever's a long time away. So for now, let's enjoy the Kirby music. OshaKurb and Anonymous asks, what's your favorite track from Kirby and the Forgotten Land? I've been asking myself this for a while too, and I mentioned it a bit earlier, but I think I'd have to go with Fast Flowing Waterworks, the unofficial factory inspection sequel. A strong melody, story-like progression, and fantastic instruments can't be beat in my book, and Fast Flowing Waterworks excels in all these areas. Gold Waddle Key D, Joke is Pasta, and Galasta ask, what resources do you use to stream the Kirby Live Radio, such as apps, devices, or programs? There are 2 main tools I use to stream the Kirby Live Radio. The first is the streaming software XSplit. Why did I choose it over the popular and open source alternative OBS? Because XSplit was the first thing I saw on Google. It has features that work well with YouTube live streams, like chat viewers, and it also has programmable functions, which is how I change the backgrounds every few hours. The other main program I use is MusicBeat, which is a music playing hub for local music files, which is perfect for what I need it for. These tools may not necessarily be the best. They were just the first ones I saw on Google that stood out to me. And so far, they worked out great. Ultimate Lifeform Enjoyer, Neo122, KH Gaming Kai, Luke Snotty, All Names Taken, Breadcat, Cinnabox, Alexis, Mario Kirby 19, Chris Moss the Epic Moss Eater, Super Kirby, Typh.io, and Artalog ask, will there be moderators on the Kirby Live Radio? I know it sounds like I've been ignoring this request. I assure you, I hear you. I've even seen the write-up document you've made asking about it. In the past, my reasons for not wanting mods were based on what I've seen from other online communities. Moderators are introduced, the group gets its spam cleaned up, and life is good. As time goes on though, what's considered spam becomes more and more blurred. Is someone posting about their own relevant video series spam? Are 2 people having a long conversation about something off topic spam? Is someone posting their extremely unpopular opinion spam? These situations are completely up to interpretation for what they could be. Conversation is the core of the Kirby Live Radio chat, and honestly, I felt scared in the past that I would appoint someone as moderator and have them run wild with power, and ban people over minor disagreements, which would snowball and lead to even more fights. I've seen how rabid people are to become moderators online, and I didn't want to add a moderator who could destroy the special, chaotic energy that the Kirby Live Radio excels at. But, and this is a big but, the Kirby Live Radio has gotten bigger, and with that, more spam bots and spam users have come to visit. I know that this is something that lots of radio chatters want. So, in the future, I plan to have a trial period with moderators on the Kirby Live Radio. I don't have any official announcements about it yet. If I'm going to do this, I want to make sure I do it right. In the meantime, I'll keep doing what I can to keep the Kirby Live Radio spam-free on my own. And remember, you always have the power to block someone yourself if you don't want to hear from them. Just click the 3 dots next to their name and hide the user from there. Man, that was a long answer. I know that this is something lots of you had asked about, so I wanted to make sure I give you the information you deserve. Anonymous asks, what Kirby game would you want to see get a remake? For game remakes, there are definitely a few that I'd want to see from Kirby. My number 1 choice would be Kirby's Dream Land 2, just because I think it needs it the most. The game shows its age probably the hardest in the series, and with rescored music and modern graphics, I think it'd be really fun to play again. A few years ago, I thought it'd be perfect to remake as a small 3DS eShop game, using the engine from Triple Deluxe or Planet Robobot as a base. I think we're a bit far away from the 3DS for that to happen now, though. For other games, I'd want Kirby's Air Ride or Kirby and the Amazing Mirror remade, mostly so that they can be played on modern hardware and have modern features like online play. Ashy Boy Plays asks, how many views overall has it got? Overall, the Kirby Live Radios combined have gotten over 1 million views combined, which is actually pretty surprising to me. In terms of consistent viewers, the number originally hovered around 10 to 15, and later made it up to 30. And now, I'm happy to say that the number usually hovers around 50 during the evenings. The highest it's been so far was just over 200 viewers. I'm sure I'll reach that number again and surpass it at some point. Waddle D asks, how many Kirby games have you played? Most of them. I can't think of any mainline ones that I haven't at least tried out. The only ones I haven't touched are a few of the remakes or deluxe versions, like Extra Epic Yarn or DDD's Drum Dash Deluxe. Super Matthew Brothers asks, I was wondering for a neat idea to make a playlist or past versions of the Kirby Live Radio streams by taking those full original streams and making them just regular videos? Unfortunately, YouTube only saves stream videos that are under 12 hours in length. That's why there are only a few older Kirby Live Radios floating around YouTube. For special streams in the future, I'll try to keep them under 12 hours, so that they can be archived and viewed later. SpongeCurb asks, will you do any more soundtrack reviews? I'd really love to make more. I've had a start to the script for the Kirby's Adventure soundtrack review since last year. The way I set up the format though, with reviewing every song in a game's soundtrack, left me a little intimidated though. Dreamland 1 had around 12 songs total, but what about when I get to Superstar, which has 65 songs? I'm still trying to work on a format that works for these larger soundtracks, and when I do, expect some more cool soundtrack review videos. Super Noob Gaming asks, have you ever gotten copyright striked at any point from doing this? Strikes? Nah, none from the video game music at least. I've gotten plenty of copyright claims though. Those don't hurt the status of the channel, which is good. They only take away the option to monetize that video. And I'm not monetized at the moment anyways, so it's not too big of a deal. I've also gotten a few copyright takedowns too. Specifically from when I tried to upload the Forgotten Land soundtrack. I saw that some channels were even getting deleted over uploading it, so I didn't want to push my luck by re-uploading them. Rest in peace to the green thumbnails. Blue Amon asks, is Kirby the best? In some ways he is. I have a hard time picking favorites, since I tend to like songs and games for lots of different reasons. Is Kirby your best? That's the question I'd like to ask you. Thunderburger79 asks, how often are you on the stream itself? I usually check in on the stream 2 or 3 times a day. I don't always have the time to stick around and chat for a while, but I always enjoy popping in and seeing what crazy antics and weird conversation topics you all decided to pick for the day. Gamola asks, so, the Kirby Live Radio wiki is still up, and even though it's 99% forgotten, I'd be surprised if you're not aware of it, seeing how you joined the server a couple years back. It makes sense if you've forgotten it by now. But if you haven't, what are the thoughts on the fact that your stream's got a whole wiki filled with craziness? Oh, I'm definitely aware of it. I still check it every few weeks to see the latest pages that were added to it. When I first heard about it, I thought it was an in-joke, like, oh, make sure to add this conversation to the wiki on the lore page. So I was pretty surprised when I googled it and saw that it was a real thing. Of course, like anyone does, the first thing I searched on it was my own name, and was very surprised to see the extremely accurate information that people had put there about me. Sometimes friends have asked me if I'm the one who put it together, and it feels cool to say that I did not. There's a whole group of people out there who care so much about the community they've formed on the Kirby Live Radio that they want to make a whole wiki about it. That still kind of blows my mind to this day. Jumbo Shrimp asks, if you, or the Kirby Live Radio, were to have a theme song from the radio, what would it be? Relatedly, Mario Kirby 19 asks, chat members like to choose certain songs as their themes, so if you had to choose at least 2 songs as your themes, what would they be? If I had Kirby songs as my themes, the first pick that's obvious to me is Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright from Block Ball. It's my opinion that soundtrack gets overlooked the most, and since one of my favorite songs comes from it, I need to give it some representation. For my second theme, I'd pick Melody Town from Epic Yarn. Music's a pretty big part of my life, and that song was the first one to ever play on the channel, way back in the calm and relaxing Kirby music mix, so it has some sentimental value. For the Kirby Live Radio itself, I'd pick Sky High from Superstar. It's chaos, but controlled chaos. Seemingly too upbeat for its own good, but comes together in a way that leaves you feeling good after listening to it. Anonymous asks, can you mention Nintendo Utopia in the description for the gameplay of Kirby Triple Deluxe? I must have missed it, since Triple Deluxe was one of the first gameplay videos I added. The description will now give credit from now on. Kirb E asks, what do you think of this video?
Let's do this! Alright, enemies, prepare for total annihilation. Take that!
It's a pretty nice video. Reminds me of the fuzzy feelings I get when I watch the new Zelda Forest Temple music video. Anonymous asks, do you expect Kirby's Dream Buffet to have a soundtrack that's closer to Forgotten Land, more ambient, Battle Royale, non-orchestrated minigame-like music, Star Allies, orchestrated fantasy-like music, or Kirby Fighters, remixes? I guess I waited too long to answer this one since the game came out. Based on the first trailer, I was expecting it to have a lot of fast-paced minigame style music, but I wasn't expecting the huge amount of remix love that the game would be dishing out, especially on the spin-off games, which don't always get the attention they deserve. If you told me that the water stage from Tilt and Tumble was getting a remix, I doubt I'd believe you. And Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright getting a remix too? One of my favorites in the whole series? Amazing. It might just be recency bias, but Dream Buffet could have one of my favorite Kirby soundtracks ever. I'll need to see how it holds up on constant repeat listens though. Anonymous and Soul ask, how do you keep the Kirby Live Radio available 24/7? Originally, it would only run for a few weeks at a time, but a few years ago, I bought an old PC whose only job it is to run the Kirby Live Radio. So, if it ever goes down, you can blame this guy right here. The letter S Rebooted asks, did you go back in time and change the timeline to make the Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures theme song bad, or has it always been bad? I've only ever gone forward in time, so the only theme song I can make bad is the one for Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures 2, when it comes out in the year 7650. Shark Gills asks, is Kirby a boy or neutral? To my New Jerseyan mind, having grown up in America, and always having marketing and games telling me that Kirby is a boy, he's a boy to me. Your experience may differ depending on what you heard first though, and the only interpretation that really matters to you is your own. Rampage 2010 asks, why isn't Kirby's Dream Land 3 included with the SNES Classic Edition? I wish it was included, I really do. At least we got Kirby Golf with 2 controllers included, so you can invite a friend to share a disappointment with. Slothy1 asks, do you think Kirby should have a sloth ability, or not, if you think you should one day they'll make it happen? I think Sloth would be a little slow as a base power. Maybe we could get it as an evolution for Animal if they bring back ability evolutions. It could work like Sword, a slower, stronger, middle form of the ability. Lady of Lightning asks, how would you reflect and review the past 5 years of the Kirby Live Radio? Remember that story I mentioned earlier about the first Kirby Live Radio? Well, it's continuing now. The first real Kirby Live Radio started streaming on August 8th, 2017. It had a few of the iconic elements you can still find on the radio now, like the 3 Parasol Kirbys, but aside from those, the screen was pretty barren. That was enough to make the Kirby Live Radio what it is though, and it led to my luckiest moment of YouTube ever. When I first started the radio, I had 2 or 3 viewers at a time, which was pretty great, I thought. It's a good amount for my 300 subscribers. I left it up for a few days, and everything changed when I came back from work one day. I checked my channel from my phone, and the Kirby Live Radio had 50 viewers? And I had 700 subscribers? I honestly didn't believe it. I had to double check the numbers on my laptop for the reality to set in. The Kirby Live Radio blew up. And there were people in the live chat, talking about Kirby music. The more I kept the radio going, the more subscribers I got, going from 700 to 1,000 to 2,000 in just a few days. Reading the chat and seeing so many people coming back day after day was awesome. I had to leave for a work trip the next week, so I kept it on for as long as I could, and ended it with the promise that it'd be back soon. The next radio stream I did wasn't actually the Kirby Live Radio, but the Mario Kart Live Radio. I'll talk about that in some of my other radio attempts in another answer. Near the end of August, the Kirby Live Radio made its grand return, and I officially said when it would be taking a longer break, the beginning of September. I was starting up college again, and I didn't want it to interfere too much with my classes. I think I may have accidentally been giving off the impression that it was ending forever though, because everyone in the chat was saying their goodbyes and reminiscing about the last week of having the Kirby Live Radio. I ended that edition with the staff roll theme from Dreamland 3, with the Kirby Right Back At Ya theme as a 1-song encore, and then hit the stream end button. And you know what I thought, as I saw dozens of people in the chat sad about the radio ending, wishing they could find something else like it? That I might be the biggest idiot on the internet. Just keep it going! People wanted this to stay up, and now they're going to leave and possibly never come back. Well, I did what I did. The radio ended up going into a pattern of being live for a few weeks, then down for a month or 2. The stream would get 20 to 30 viewers, but when it got consistently under 10, I would stop it for a while to let interest build up again. This pattern continued for the next few years, where I would also add new features, like the cycling backgrounds, and the gameplay corner, which was a popular user suggestion. In early 2020, when a certain global event had everyone staying inside, I started to keep the Kirby Live Radio running as much as I could, since myself and many others suddenly had a lot more free time. For what happens next in the Kirby Live Radio history, tune in to later in the video. Anonymous asks, can there be a feedback forum please? Some opinions should be heard, especially when concerning such a community-focused endeavor such as this. I make sure to always read every comment on the videos I post and the community posts. I'm not that great at responding to them, but everything that's being said is being heard. At some point, I might put a more formal feedback form in the description too. Vacuous Space asks, have you ever played the 2008 RPG Off by Mortis Ghost? I have not played it, but I have heard things about it online, and the things that I've heard were good things, so I'll have to check it out sometime. Green asks, I would like to know your thoughts on the Kirby Right Back At Ya soundtrack. With most of its music being from Air Ride, I think it fits well enough in the show. In terms of openings though, I think Japanese opening 2 is the best, followed by the English opening, then the Italian opening, and then the first Japanese opening. Jerry Mouse asks, add more Kirbys and other characters from the Kirby series. Add a screen that has episodes of Kirby Right Back At Ya. Check for more characters after the next update. For episodes of the TV show, I've had a few people ask me about that. I don't really think it would work that well to have the TV show playing in the bottom with no dialogue, and subtitles would be too small too. Kerbo Is Sad asks, what was your first Kirby game? Mine was Squeak Squad. Even though you can beat it in a single sitting these days, when I was a kid, I played it for months. New Age Retro Nerd asks, How does it feel to have your chat have a lot of regulars who just chat with each other in RP? I'm a basic listener, but I've spotted several repeat names in chat, lol. The fact that people stick around on the Kirby Live Radio and keep coming back to hang out is amazing to me. I spent a lot of my early internet days on old V-Bulletin forums, especially the K-Story tribute site forums. People from around the world with different backgrounds coming together to talk about the things they're passionate about, topics that they can't always find other fans for in real life. I'm really happy that I've been able to help make a space like that for Kirby music fans, but I'm glad to have made my small mark on the internet. Pon and Khan asks, who is your favorite Kirby boss? I've always liked Miracle Matter from Kirby 64. Not a lot of bosses focus on using specific copy abilities to fight them, and fighting against the same powers you've used the whole game makes for a good, almost final challenge. Big Daddy B-Man asks, who made that amazing piece of artwork? I did. It originally started as just Kirby holding a microphone, but I couldn't get his short little arms to look right, so I switched to a self-portrait of me instead. Mario Cicado asks, who is your favorite character from the Kirby Right Back Atcha anime? And what do you think of anime original characters like Tokori? My favorite anime-only character is Escargoon, 100%. King Dedede does well with an underling who's a little more devious, and Bandana Waddle Dee is too pure of a kid to fill that role. I'd love to see Escargoon and Tokori make a real appearance in the games, though it might be hard to fit them in when the games have such a limited cast already. Dark Matter Swordsman asks, how do you feel about all the drama? When it comes to the internet, things move quickly. Things that seem important one week can be forgotten the next. If you experience anything that makes you upset online, you have the power to walk away and ignore it. Personally, I haven't seen that much drama, because it ends up working itself out pretty quickly, and I think that's for the better. Florian Kratzer asks, is this Men Kirby the New Mouthful Mode experience? Interestingly, I've had a few people online say I look like a Mouthful Mode. I think it's pretty cool that the Kirby suit I use ended up remotely resembling something that appears in an official game. Maybe someday we'll get that Mario Odyssey and Kirby crossover so that Kirby can mouthful some new donkers. One Step 2 Blue asks, what's your least favorite Kirby song ever? This was a question I had to think hard about, but as soon as I got my answer, I realized how easy of a choice it was. Hit the Switch from Kirby and the Rainbow Curse is fine enough when you listen to it in-game, but the fact that it lasts more than 3 minutes in the soundtrack listings is more than enough to easily annoy anyone listening. Bidoof asks, which Kirby game has the best soundtrack in your opinion? In this case, I think that best is different from favorite. If I had to name the soundtrack with the highest number of bangers and the biggest sampling of what makes Kirby music so good, then I guess I'd have to go with Star Allies, just because of the huge size of more than 200 songs. That'll definitely include lots of the best songs from the series, and the high quality sound makes it easier to listen to than most of the older Game Boy soundtracks. Anonymous asks, who is better, King Dedede or Meta Knight? For me, I prefer King Dedede. Like I said before, he helps create some of the best moments in the series, like the ending for Kirby's Adventure. Grey Sheep 1717 asks, would you give Kirby a little kiss? I'd give him a little peck on the cheek, maybe 2 if he lets me, as a thank you for all the service he's done. Koi Tamanegi, or Love Onion, asks, Nihongo o shaberimasu ka? Anime to animation wa onaji desu. America hito tachi wa sore o shiranai. Translated to, just curious, do you speak Japanese? Anime and animation are the same. Americans don't know it. Watashi wa sore o hanasu koto wa dekimasen ga, Guguru honyaku wa hoji ni jinsuku desu. Animation wa oki no guru ponderai, oku no shu ga fukama rete imasu. Translated to, I can't speak it, but I'm very quick with Google Translate. I agree with you, animation is a big group and includes a lot of shows. Fran asks, favorite Nintendo series or Kirby game? It surprises people when I say that Kirby isn't my favorite Nintendo series. Kirby Music is my favorite, but if I had to pick a favorite series, then I'd go with Rhythm Heaven. The personality of that series is unmatched, and in my opinion, it has some of my favorite moments in all of gaming. Herb Gaiman asks, out of the 5 sprites on the radio that all mostly always there, which is your favorite? It's the Parasol Kirby for me. Been there from the beginning, and Parasol is one of my favorite abilities. Between the 3 of them, the middle one's my favorite, since he was the first one. Cheesy Toad asks, how do you feel in the 2020 to 2021 rise considering your radio managed to get big, tons of love, and a nice community? Relatedly, Gooey123 asks, what are your thoughts on the community of the Kirby Live Radio? Picking up where we last left off in Kirby Live Radio history, it's now fall of 2020. The Kirby Live Radio was doing well, but there was a movement brewing in another corner of the internet that would soon be knocking on my door. The viral TikTok trend of listening to Mario Kart music while you study. I know. We've all been doing it for years. But not everybody knows how helpful video game music is when you need to focus. I started getting comments on my calm and relaxing Mario Kart music mix video, like, it really works, and thanks for the advice, TikTok. I was confused, but I did some research and understood the gist of the situation. For a while before that, my video was actually the first search result when you Googled Mario Kart music, which is how I'm guessing so many people found the video. The YouTube algorithm likes it when your channel gets a lot of watch time, and it boosts all of your new content, including, for me, the Kirby Live Radio. A perfect storm was brewing. I was finishing up a new, exciting and motivational Mario Kart music mix, and the Kirby Live Radio was in the process of being updated, so it wasn't live at the time. The Mario Kart video released. Then, in the next few days, the radio updated and went live. This particular Kirby Live Radio, with its new snazzy thumbnail design, was being pushed by YouTube hard. Within hours, the radio went from 0 to 50 to 80 to 100 to 130 to 160 viewers. And on that night, it finally happened. The Kirby Live Radio reached 200 live viewers! 1-2 Oatmeal was played to celebrate, creating the first Kirby Live Radio highlight. With this influx of viewers, there are also a bunch that ended up staying. It's been a real treat seeing so many of your names in the live chat for so long. I also think that the Kirby Live Radio Wiki started around this time, which is always a hoot to look through. I talk about the Kirby Live Radio community a bit more in an earlier or future answer, but in short, it's an awesome community to see. Seeing everyone find common ground in Kirby music, getting to know each other's favorite songs, and celebrating new Kirby releases and the 30th anniversary has been awesome to see. The impromptu listening launch party for Kirby's Dream Buffet was the most recent of these celebrations, and thus brings us into the present day of the Kirby Live Radio history. The future is still being written, and you, the viewers, are all holding pens. Maybe your future escapades will make it into the 10th anniversary Q&A history section. Anonymous asks, where did my liver go? Not sure, but I've heard that a certain gaming icon has been looking for livers recently, so you should start your search there. Magalore, but the OG one, asks, can you play 1-2 Oatmeal again when you hit 20k? 20,000 viewers all at the same time? If that ever gets that high, then totally. I'm just kidding, I know what you mean. I have something else in mind for when I hit 20,000 subscribers, though. Kirby Plays asks, why do you always live stream? Because I can, and I think it's fun. Samuel J.H. asks, will you be adding any music from Kirby's 30th Anniversary Music Fest to the Kirby Live Radio? There's a lot of fantastic songs from the event that I think would be worth including. Those songs, along with the footage from the event, are being added with the newest update. Danny Danpanikol asks, is Miracle Matter a separate entity of its own, or part of a species of dark matter? I think it'd have to be a part of dark matter, right? Unless it was being possessed by dark matter, like how King DDD was always being possessed. But at that point, you're still fighting dark matter, right? Artedrich Channel asks, there's a lot of people in the Kirby Live Radio and they have their theme songs, so how will we know if our theme song will play? Through constant listening, careful inspection, and a relay system to let every single person know what song is playing at all times. Mitch asks, what's your favorite variant of Waddle Dee? Parasol Waddle Dees are my number one. I do also like the newscaster Waddle Dees from the promotional images though. Bandana Waddle Dee Lord asks, When will it come out? If you're talking about the Q&A video, it's coming out now. Kosovo Ball asks, how did you get into Kirby? I became interested in the series after playing Squeak Squad and Canvas Curse, and I got really into the music when I got the Dream Collection Special Edition and started listening to the included CD obsessively. BreadTube King asks, is God real? I don't know. Being a guy who likes Kirby music doesn't really qualify me to answer that. Anonymous asks, is this copyrighted if I were to use it in streams? The Kirby Live Radio isn't necessarily safe from copyright strikes itself, so I would say include it at your own risk if you decide to use it. Mr. Boss 098 asks, how do you randomize the radio? Did you code it yourself? Where are all the songs stored? Sorry to say that it may be a low-tech solution, but I usually just use the shuffle button in MusicBee. I have a big playlist of every Kirby song that I have stored locally, with a few of the more unlistenable songs removed, and every 2 days I shuffle the playlist again. There are some times, usually at the start of a new radio, or after a new game releases, where I'll make a custom playlist that lasts a few hours, featuring the new songs added to the radio. Cataquack Warlord asks, what is your favorite enemy for each Kirby game? Sticking with normal enemies, Waddle Doo's my favorite. Give him a parasol, and that makes him even better. Miku Ari asks, what do you do while the stream is running? Go outside and live life, go to work, write music, hang out with friends, make video games, all the stuff that I would normally do. I check in on the radio at least once a day to make sure that everything is running smoothly, and I'll listen to it for a bit too. Dogago asks, what kind of music styles do you think the Kirby characters would like? King DDD would be all about royal-sounding classical music. I've got a feeling that Meta Knight would be big into jazz, but maybe that's just because of all the jazz music that always accompanies him in-game. And Kirby, well, he would probably listen to anything. And I don't mean any genre by that. I don't think he has much of a sense of musicality, so he'd honestly be happy with anything. Funbun Fanto asks, how did you feel recording the live radio? Because I still remember the godlike premiere. Oh, I remember the feeling very vividly. Being stiff, hot, and worried that someone would walk up to me and ask what I was doing. I was standing out in that field for almost 30 minutes, and by the end, my arm was getting super tired holding that umbrella up. The music I was playing was also really loud. It had to be to reach the camera's microphone. At one point, someone even drove behind the camera, stopped for a bit, and then drove away. The whole video had to be done in one take, and for my arm's sake, I didn't want to have to restart the video so that I could explain to someone what I was doing. Zoid6 asks, can I be in a video? You are now. Kirby Stop Tier asks, what's your top best 3 Kirby games? I talked about a few of these earlier, so I won't go too in-depth here. I'd say my 3 favorites at the moment are Crystal Shards, Forgotten Land, and Planet Robobot. EE asks, is Kirby cool in real life? I've never met him in person, so I'm not sure. You never know how celebrities are different on and off the screen. Coleman asks, I know you found the Kirby Right Back At Ya music. Do you watch the Kirby anime itself? Relatedly, Kirby's ultimate biggest fan asks, what's your favorite episode of Kirby Right Back At Ya? When it was first releasing in America on 4Kids, I was a huge fan of it. I used to go on the 4Kids website and watch the same 3 episodes that were available for free over and over. So I was shocked and overjoyed when I checked back one day and they had added 10 more. My favorite episode back then was the Fofa Factor, which, looking back at it, is really unsettling and has some weird body horror implications for the Kirby universe. K. Koopa asks, what is your biggest achievement? Oh, that's a big question. I'll be focusing more on what I've done online to keep my personal identity anonymous. When I think of achievements, I usually consider how it would look through the eyes of my younger self. What would he think is the coolest? And for that, I'd without a doubt point to the games and music I made. There isn't one in particular, but more about all the things I've done with it overall. I've gotten games on the Google and Apple app stores, had friends doubt that I made my music because it sounded so real, worked with great friends on really cool games, released my music on Spotify, and even put together a Steam release. If I could show where I am now to my childhood self, or show my progress to the me from back when I started making calculator games in 2015, I'd be super giddy about it the whole time. Magalore the Distant Traveler asks, want to buy a ticket to the Ice Cream Islands? Only 300 gem apples. It provides a boat ride along with the whole experience and a reserved VIP hotel room for free. 300 gem apples? Only $4? What a steal! Do you have any add-on options for a trip to the DDD Resort? Or a ride on the Kirby Poo 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 train? I'll be eagerly awaiting your response. 101 Games asks, will you ever do radios for things other than Kirby? After the first test Kirby Live Radio, and before the first real Kirby Live Radio, I tested out a different one, the Shovel Knight Live Radio. When I started live streaming, my original plan was to try out different types of radios for different franchises. Shortly after the first Kirby Live Radio, I also tried out a Mario Kart Live Radio, and a Pokemon Live Radio. Those were a little bit successful, but Mario Kart doesn't quite have enough music to sustain a radio-length playlist, and my knowledge of Pokemon music wasn't as comprehensive as Kirby, so there were some gaps in the complete soundtrack list. After another Kirby Live Radio, I took another 2 shots at trying something new, a Zelda one, and a Mario and Sonic combined live radio. Those were a bit more successful than the last 2 attempts, but they still had the issue that I just didn't know enough about their music to make a live radio I was happy with. So, the Kirby Live Radio came out on top, and became the main live stream on the channel. I did try a new radio one more time in early 2019 after a friend suggested it to me, an Animal Crossing Live Radio. This one wasn't meant to be a replacement though, just something to try out for a few days. There was one radio that I always wanted to try from the beginning, but never ended up doing. A Siva Gunner high-quality RIP radio. Maybe someday. I think I made the right choice with sticking with the Kirby Live Radio though. My obsessive knowledge about Kirby music has done wonders to keep me motivated about keeping it updated. Jeremy Huang asks, can you add Meta Knight's Flying Pixel sprite to the Kirby Live Radio? Maybe? I can't commit to anything now, but maybe? Nick and Bomber Duck ask, why? Why? Luea asks, opinions on the upcoming Return to Dreamland remake? My first impression for it was that the art looks really good. The thick outlines are a great style to go with, and the updated backgrounds have so much character. New and updated sub-games is always great to have too. I'm interested in seeing all the new stuff they add, since remakes of Kirby games usually come with a beefy amount of new content. My one hesitation is the reuse of music. In the trailer, the old songs sounded like they were straight from the Wii game, which isn't bad because that soundtrack is amazing already. We got to hear a snippet of a newly added song, and it sounds nice, which makes me hope that the rest of the soundtrack gets updated renditions to match. Matt's the Cat asks, I don't have a question, I just want you to have a nice day. Thanks, I hope you've had a good one too. And for our last submitted question, Anonymous Loris asks, are there any new features coming to the Kirby Live Radio? There are lots. I saved this for the end, since some of the other questions spoil the answer for this one a bit. For new music, there will be Dream Buffet, the 30th Anniversary Music Fest, and some other soundtracks that I missed. There will also be new gameplay and other small tweaks to the radio that I was working on while making this video. I hope you'll enjoy it when it starts airing. When does it start airing? Well, if everything goes according to plan, it should be starting right after this video releases. I hope you'll enjoy everything new that was added. And that's the end of the questions you all asked me. Hopefully the answers shed a lot of light on the topics we talked about. I do have one final question though. Commander Jersey asks, how are you going to close out the video? With a big thank you to all of you! For anyone who's ever tuned in and listened to the radio or watched one of my videos, thank you! Knowing that people watch and enjoy my video game music experiments means a lot, and it's a huge motivator to keep on going and try cool new things. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, the Kirby Live Radio will keep on airing and improving. And I'll keep working on new videos too, like more soundtrack reviews and some mystery videos. When I started the Kirby Live Radio, I couldn't imagine all the awesome things that it would bring over its first 5 years, and I didn't even think it could last that long. Thanks for proving that wrong, and here's to a lot more fun times in the future.